Our guest this episode is Iain Morrison, an event operations strategist who helps professionals trade chaos for calm. After decades delivering stadium shows, civic celebrations, and large-scale festivals, he's built systems that keep teams aligned, risks managed, and decisions clear long before the pressure hits. So he's here to discuss how better planning, communication, and operational clarity create more engaging, higher performing events. Please welcome Iain. Iain, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the Engaging Personalities Podcast. I'm Anders Belanger, founder and CEO of Engagify, where we're on a mission to rehumanize business through engagement. We believe that we can all be more successful if we can command attention and deepen connection. So stick around to the end of the show and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest on a future episode. So let's get ready to engage.
Thank you, Anders, and great introduction.
All right, good stuff. Well, hey, we're off to a good start so far.
Exactly.
So I know your background is about big events, right? Stadium thing, size, the scope. Can you kind of just, so people can kind of get a sense of where you're coming from, can you paint the picture of what that was like and what kind of events you worked on so that we can get a sense of the stakes?
Yeah, so our sort of range of events generally leans from about 5,000 people being a small event, concert, festival, community event, to a couple of 100,000 people. It encapsulates the wide range of stadium shows, festivals, civic events, big public spectaculars, that sort of thing. We do sort of obviously go outside that scope. We did a Foo Fighters show, for example, for 300 people on an island in Sydney Harbour as a promo event. So, we've bent the sort of norm a few times, but generally speaking, that sort of is our bread and butter over the years, and I've been doing that about 35 years. So,
what was your first role in when, like 35 years ago, what was your, like, were you a roadie? How did you get into,
So I used the term a black box relocation professional, and I sort of made my way through high school, earning some money on the side on the weekends and at nights doing that. And once I sort of graduated from high school, I went to university and studied stage and production management for theatre. And I then sort of got into the theatre for a few years got a straight out of university into the role at the Sydney Opera House as a mechanist, moving the sets around and rigger.
That's pretty cool. That's iconic location, right? Like that's a very famous opera house.
I used to walk across the Harbour Bridge to work every day to the Opera House, so I was sort of a few times had to pinch myself straight out of university. It's a great place to sort of start my career.
Right. And as you went in and got more and more experience, you started doing taking on other roles, more responsibilities, what have you?
Yeah, so at the Opera House, I got my first taste of outdoor events. We did Crowded House, which is an Australian band, on the steps of the Opera House, and they report 200,000 people there. And I think maybe we had about 40 or 50,000, but it was still it was even 40 or 50. Today's concerts we do in the Opera House are 6,000 capacity max. And that's still pretty busy. So, back in the mid-90s, it was just a sea of people right the way around the Opera House, and it was huge. So I picked up the outdoor event bug at that point, working on that show, and that was incredible. And then I got an opportunity to run some of the biggest outdoor concerts in Australia over the summer. So I jumped at that and sort of worked my way up in the market, and I'm still sort of hanging around 30 years later. So.
Perfect. Yeah. So Iain, with events, and again, I was kind of prepping you before saying, hey, we have event marketers who listen to the podcast and people on the corporate side, marketing side. events are constantly firefighting, right? Like
Correct.
there's always something going wrong. And you talk about, with your I guess company, if you will, talking about going from, chaos to calm. So what are some of the things that you can help with to create that kind of calmness and take the drama out of events?
So things are always going to go wrong at events. When you introduce dynamic environments, short lead times, tight builds, and then whether it's 500 or 50,000 people, you're introducing a massive human element into it. And I talk to people and I say, well, imagine being mayor of a city for a short period of time, and you're building the city, you're letting everyone into the city to inhabit it, and then you let them go at the end of either a few hours or a few days, and you're going to have all the problems that you have in a normal city, waste, sanitation, transport, policing, security, but you're taking that in a temporary environment and applying a lot of pressure on it. And so we look at how we sort of deliver these events through systematic procedures and processes to ensure that you're stress testing as much of the event beforehand as you can. And you know things are going to go wrong. You're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to change throughout the event. And what you thought might work really well isn't going to work the way you thought it was. So you've got to pivot and fix it. And it's not about the fact that something's gone wrong. Something's going to go wrong. You just don't know what it is all the time. So, you put these systems and processes in place, and you run the event like you would run any other environment like that, whether it's military or civic or contractual. You run it like a procedural based entity, and I think that approach is very important, because a lot of people don't they think, okay, they focus on the planning and the delivery, but they don't focus on that process to make sure that they have accounted for the change that will happen throughout the life cycle of the event.
What came up for me as you were explaining that to us, Iain, was I've got you on the one side of the side of the pole, if you will, of like super organized, accounting for everything and knowing things will go wrong. And then the fire festival organizers on the other side, right? Where it was like just like flying by the seat of their pants. And all that experience and systems that you have in place, I mean, they've got to be quite valuable, quite useful for events. So let's talk about behind the stage, which is your company, and how do you help events get on that the right side of getting ahead of all of that drama?
So interestingly, we've actually got two companies that
Okay.
do this, and the first is the Imagination Collaborative, which we create a lot of pre-visualization for events. So we model events in 3D. We build digital twins so you can interact with the event well ahead of time before you sign off budget. So you can see exactly what that's going to look like. So you can essentially stress test the event.
Now, is that's like everything, like in terms of flow of people and that sort of thing? Do you model that, or
we're
when you
still
stress test,
working
what do you
on
mean?
getting
Yeah.
the people
Okay.
flow side of it accurate. We can
Yeah.
show what crowds will look like in the space, but
Sure.
how crowds behave is very complex. So we're working with some crowd modeling experts on and software experts that will help integrate that into our digital twins. So we can show you what the crowd looks like in place. We can show you what the view is from every seat. We can show you what it'd be like in the rain or the wind or change the signage, change the furniture, whatever you need to do to stress test that event and make sure it looks and feels exactly like it will, and that helps you de-risk. It also helps stakeholders and people buy in, so you don't get that sort of surprise on site when people turn up and go, "Oh, I didn't realize it was going to look like that," or "Can we just move
Right.
that to there?" Which is what I've
I,
spent a lot of my career doing, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
and people come in, and sponsors being one of those, right? Like when you talk about
yeah,
stakeholders that they paid good money to have something have a certain perception to it,
correct.
and they, and again, yeah, you have people going, oh boy, here we go, we got to move all this stuff, right? Why didn't this get signed off in the first place? So I can see a great deal of value having that, being able to really picture it from, like you said, every different angle.
Yeah, yeah, and so it gets, as I said, it gets a lot of people's buy-in and engagement before the event. So, the sales team, we can show teams. We do a lot of work with Live Golf. We can show them exactly what it's going to look like from the corporate suite on the 18th green. You can see what the view is going to be like up the fairway for the people in the suite, or the broadcast cameras, or the sponsors that you're selling signage to, opportunities, and that gets all those people, all those stakeholders, are now understand the picture a lot better than they did before with static renders or 2D floor plans. So that's the first business where we sort of help people understand that. And behind the stage is something I'm just in the process of launching at the moment. So I'm great that that's picking up, and you've
Yeah.
picked up on that. So and that really, what we're doing is we're putting on together training programs for leaders and up and coming event leaders to really show what leadership looks like through systems and processes in event delivery. So I think in this day and age with AI coming in, a lot of people in the future will become very AI reliant. And for me, having been old school on the tools and having to use the sort of mush between my ears for many years, a lot of what turns up at the end result of the event is leadership that gets injected into the process at a very early stage in the planning. And the paperwork, you might think it's just simple paperwork like scheduling or delivery processes, or it shows up on site as leadership. And it's really, how do you take that leadership and inject it into the process throughout the planning life cycle and the event delivery life cycle. So that's really what the behind the stage is focused on. And we're also, obviously, through both organisations, we do consulting and other work with clients, a lot of venue design, CAD planning, all of that sort of through the Imagination Collaborative as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
So yeah, so those kind of basically passing on best practices for producing large scale events, over your career, and then the systems that you've created. That's the behind the stage is empowering those other event leaders. That's really where we're getting at. Yeah.
That's really where we're getting at. That's
Okay.
that's exactly what the goal of behind the stage is to empower leaders to deliver better and frankly safer events, because
For sure.
the we still see, Fire Festival might not have been unsafe, but it was certainly not an ideal case for any of us in the industry, right? But things you see a lot of Netflix documentaries coming out, and I won't name the specific,
That's,
but
I was going to say,
they're
that's part of
prime
your,
example.
yeah, sorry. And I was just going to say, that's part of your marketing. Don't be the next Fire Festival, right? Like, don't have a Netflix special made about
Funny,
your event, right? Train with
I've
us.
actually got a LinkedIn draft done at the moment that's
Yeah.
along the lines of "Don't be the next Netflix documentary."
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
um,
that's right on. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So when you do this, and by the way, I want to come back to that AI point you made as well, because it reminds me. I've talked with some healthcare technology leaders at a summit I was at one time, and they were talking about the use of AI in healthcare. And
Mm,
a mistake is made, and if enough people don't use their head, someone's going to die, right? And I think the same is true in an event where you get the information, and if you're not challenging that result, if you're not, actually, putting it through its paces as far as running it by people and signing off on it, yeah, things will go wrong because there are hallucinations. Not perfect. Is how integrated is AI to event producing at this point?
That's a good question, and let me just sort of, I guess, come back to that in a
Sure.
minute, because where I'd like to start is I'm doing some research at the moment, that nearly now 50% of the information that's available on the internet is now AI generated. So if you do a Google search and look at a blog, or if you go into AI and ask it a question to do some research, you have a 50% chance that what you're going to see is AI generated.
Hmm.
And so you need to understand that might not have been vetted by a human. It could just
Yeah.
be a bot that's producing AI babble for somebody's blog that they just, they want to keep blogging, and
Yeah.
they're not either a subject matter expert, or they're not vetting it, or they're, just putting it up. So the information you're getting through AI may not actually be even accurate in the first place. So then we look at the delivery of events, and I think everybody's scrambling for the next AI tool and the next hype in what it is for delivering events. And I think AI has a very big part of event delivery, and I think it will definitely grow into the future. But I caution everyone, and this is something I've really started coming out and saying a lot lately: AI is not going to take the responsibility for you. It's not going to stand beside you in front of your client, or in front of a police officer, or in front of a coroner, or in front of the neighborhood and explain your actions. So be very conscious of how you apply AI to event delivery, because you only get one go at that. And if you do miss something, and if that results in an accident or a tragedy, or even just a blown budget with your client because you didn't pay enough attention to what was generated in the first place, then that's on you. And I think so. As people introduce these processes into event delivery, they need to be very conscious of how they're introducing it and how it's applied, and then what the end result is. Because, as I said before, that leadership and experience is injected by professionals right through the planning process. And whether you've got that couple of hundred people on site or thousands of people on site, you're going to potentially miss things that won't show up until the event's live. And
Hmm.
yeah,
You
so
know, this, I mean, AI and event planning, that's one thing we're talking about, and then the human experience. And I feel like there's another gap there, and I want your opinion on it too, because I just came back from an event recently, a big tech event, and it seemed like it was worse run than it used to be pre-pandemic. And I'm wondering if there was a bit of a talent, leak that happened at COVID for events, and that, people couldn't work on events, so many people retired early or they found another job. Is that something that you're seeing, and has that affected whether event safety or quality, in your opinion?
yeah, this is something I've posted about on LinkedIn a few times now. I've called it the great talent exodus that was COVID. And for us, we employed around 150 odd permanent casuals. They were, we were a seasonal business, and so every summer they'd be on the books, and every winter they'd go and do other work either overseas or in Australia. And I would say more than 50% of those people over COVID never never came back. And some of our best people, and we're calling them up after COVID, going, "Hey, we're back. We're doing events. Yeah, look, I've actually found out what it's like to earn an income 9 to 5." And or 7 till 3, and go pick my kids up from school and have the weekends with the family. And thanks, but I'm not coming back. I've seen what it's like on the other side. And unfortunately, with that talent exodus went a massive experience and knowledge from the industry, thousands and thousands of years of retained knowledge that was vital in delivering events. And the comeback of the industry was so scrambled and urgent because none of us had earned money. I mean, in Australia, it was nearly 3 seasons because we closed down in the middle of our summer season. And then we missed 2. So it was 2.5 seasons worth of no work. And everybody was just super eager to come back. And there was all these events that just came back at once, and you couldn't get equipment and you couldn't get staff, but we just made it happen. And for a while there, we collaborated as an industry and we got the job done, and it was amazing. And then it went back to the old way of, well, these are my toys and this is my event. And, we never looked at how we would get that knowledge back or that experience back. And I don't think, for a lot of people, I don't think that's come back. And they still struggle to deliver a good product. And we go back to the AI now. A lot of people are leaning on AI. Well, when we used to deliver events, every event manager would have 2 coordinators. Now you're probably only going to want to employ 1 because that AI. But that means when you get on the ground, you're either picking up somebody that has no idea what's going on, or you're right. One body short, because that knowledge, as I said, has been gathered through the whole pre-production process. So it's not like you can just bring somebody on for the start of the bump in and say, right, here we go, go get them, Tiger.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of scary with that, just the idea that there are those gaps, like you said, or the leak that's happening. I think that's a good place to kind of talk about. I know you said behind the stage isn't quite ready, but what can people expect, because they need to up level their knowledge, and because there is this lack of talent out there. So how can people kind of dig into what you've got, and when can they expect that to be out, perhaps, or be ready?
So our first course is event scheduling. We thought we'd start off with something that everybody does on every single event, and it really focuses, as I said before, on that leadership element through scheduling an event. We're in the beta tester stage, so we've got a few beta testers in. We're editing. Actually, hopefully today I will finish recording the first run or the last of the lessons, and we're hoping to have that up by Christmas. And then we're just going to roll into more programs. So we've got a number of industry experts that are coming on board to develop courses with us. So things like programming, budgeting, AI and events, of course, will be a big one, and how to deploy AI in a sustainable way throughout event planning. And then also resources to back all of that up. So we're generating a lot of the resources that we've used over the last 30 odd years. We're generating those as tools for people to be a part of, and a community for them to be a part of as well. So as you're going through the courses, you can have a community where you can call on other people and some of the coaches and leaders that are going to be involved with the program. So
that's cool. The community thing's important, because it's nice to not be in it by yourself, right? That other people are going through it, and I think there's probably a higher completion rate, right? When people have almost like an accountability group or something going on. I have a question, Iain. Is this is all, I want to say, asynchronous or on demand? or there is live elements as well throughout the course, or what does that look like?
Initially, we're going as a on-demand, online, self-paced training.
Okay.
We're already working with a couple of organisations in Australia, and hopefully we'll be able to roll this out globally, where they've said to us, look, we're really excited about this. We want to put our staff through it, and then have some of us, and as I said, I'm not quite ready to announce them yet, but we've got some great industry people coming on board as trainers and coaches as well. And then we will be able to go in premise and help people apply what they've learned into their operating environment. So, I'm working on the scheduling program at the moment. So, say you want to come and talk about what you've learned in the scheduling space and apply that into your specific workplace, we'll do that as well.
So who's right for behind it? Well, let's talk about both sides of your business there too. Like if someone was listening to this and they said, is this for me? How would they know? Who do you kind of work with typically in terms of title and organization?
So the Imagination Collaborative, we work with, I guess, fairly large events where you're investing millions and millions of dollars into the event. So as I sort of refer to them, tier 1 and 2 global events, where you might have somebody like Live Golf, or those big events that are heading around the world. You've got broadcasters involved, you've got sponsors. You might be doing an opening ceremony. You might be opening a new venue. So a lot of what we do now is people, when they get handed the keys for a new venue, get a very short period of time between when the builder finishes, they hand over the key, and the expectation from the owner is that the venue will be operational. So what we're doing now is working with operations teams and people to understand how they operate the venue, how they sell the venue, how they move around the venue, months, 6 months, a year ahead of time, so they can write these procedures and policies and understand storage spaces and room setups and things like that in granular detail that in the past they would have only been able to understand once they'd received the keys or the venue had been, the event had been built. So that's really our focus in the Imagination Collaborative. In behind the stage, it's interesting because we're just in the process of launching it at the moment. Our ideal client is probably anybody that wants to learn more about delivering good events and event leadership. Obviously, I come from a background of outdoor events, major events. So a lot of what we will talk about is that space. However, there's no reason that you can't take what that is and apply it to any indoor or other event like a trade show or an exhibition.
Because you're teaching principles, right? Timeless principles that apply to all events, and it doesn't matter, whether it gets rained on or not. These things do matter. So, where can people reach out to you? I know you've got amassed quite a following on LinkedIn, I noticed, and so I'm guessing LinkedIn is one of the places they can reach out. And if you want to shout out any other websites or anything.
Yeah, so Iain Morrison on LinkedIn, and then theimaginationcollaborative.com, and behindthestage.global is the behind the stage site.
Very cool. .global.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty good website.
It is, yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. I didn't realize that was one. That's
kind of
cool.
Sums up what we want to be, which is a resource for people globally. So,
right.
As I said, we're working on all of those resources and tools to help people as well. So you won't just have to do a course. You'll be able to come and get a whole heap of resources and tools.
Is there a partnership play potentially with Meeting Professionals International or anything like that? Would that correlate, or is that two different type of an event that they do? Are you familiar with
we're open to partnerships. I think and this is not just events, but business generally these days is all about the partnerships. So, if somebody sees an opportunity that they'd like to talk about, reach out. I'm, happy to talk about partnerships and how, look, really, and is what we want to do is support people in growth and leadership within the events industry. And this is my way of really doing that through my experience in 35 years. And look, I've made some mistakes along the way and I've learned, and hopefully I can pass on some of the knowledge that helps people not make those mistakes
Awesome.
in the future.
Just leaving a beautiful legacy and making sure that this talent leak, we can put an end to that. Through your program. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with us and your expertise. And I hope someone listening hears this and it's exactly what they need to hear and they reach out.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. And to all of our listeners, thank you once again for tuning in. And until next time, you know what to do. Stay engaged.
Thank you so much for listening to Engaging Personalities. If you believe this world needs more engagement and you're an industry leader or you have an interesting take on rehumanizing business, go to go.engagify.ai/podcast-guest to apply and come on the show. If you got something out of this interview, do you mind sharing it on your social media? Just grab a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show. Include the hashtag Engaging Personalities. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episode, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, engagify.ai, or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening and stay engaged.